Houston has won the toss and wants the football. We'll be seeing Schaub and company on the field first. Let's go down to the sideline. Steve Tasker is with us.
Well, guys, during the playoffs, teams focus their preparation a lot. Against the Texans, the Patriots used rackets like this one to simulate the wingspan of J.J. Watt. Now, he led all defensive linemen with 16 batted passes during the season. But against the Patriots in the first go-around, he had 0. Now it's time to see the adjustments and the changes the Texans have made to see if they can put the ball back in the court of Tom Brady and the Patriots. Now let's watch what happens when we go back upstairs to Jim and Phil.
All right, thank you, Steve. We've been talking about it the last couple of days, partner, and that is how crucial it's going to be for the Texans to get off to a good start here and not a bumpy road. And again, they're going to have the football coming their way.
Well, they wanted the football to start this game, wanted to get off to a fast start. And Gary Kubiak brought up a great point to us. Maybe it gives them one more possession in this football game than the New England Patriots.
The weather again, unseasonably warm at 51 and light breezes. Phil says this should be an ideal day for the quarterbacks, these kind of conditions. There's Danielle Manning. He's been given the kick returning duties here as of the postseason. And he takes it midway deep and runs out with it. Manning has a seam past the 30, and he's breaking it past midfield. Arrington has an angle on him. A chase from behind, and he is caught at the last moment by McCourty.
Did not think he would even bring that out, Jim, when he brought it out of the end zone because it was high and deep.
Danielle Manning takes over the kick return duties for Keyshawn Martin as of last week, and what a presence. He led the league when he was a Bear back in 2008. Breaks it 94 yards. Actually, the ball spotted at the 12. With Foster behind Schaub. We'll go with Arian Foster, tripped up, falls forward for 3. Well, you said it was imperative the Texans get off to a good start. I don't think you expected a 94-yard bolt.
I think you brought up a good point, too, though. Playoff football, big games during the year. Coaches make decisions and change what they've done. Danielle Manning back there now. Why? Because it's a special time, and now you've got to let it go. You can't worry about one of your good safeties getting hurt. You need it in return for you.
Longest return of his career. He had been the returner last year until he was injured week 7. Second down and 7. Schaub takes the snap from the 9. Schaub throws, and incomplete. Trying to find James Casey, and it was broken up.
Well, we talked about it. How can this game be close today? Because you learn a lot when you've faced an opposition just a few weeks ago. So the opportunities we talked about them, they were there. How about this? Wow. It is a perfectly thrown football.
Should have been caught.
On target and the right pace. Just dropped. Early game jitters.
From up here, I thought maybe Gregory had a fingertip on it, but it went right through the hands of James Casey. Dropped what would have been a touchdown. 3rd and 7. Schaub again, end zone, and over the head, Andre Johnson.
Looked like he had him. Andre Johnson goes to the back of the end zone, and Matt Schaub, I think he tries to throw it just a little harder. And when you try to throw it a little harder sometimes as a quarterback, the football gets away from you. Maybe at the last second, he saw Devin McCourty from the other side, so he throws it high and behind.
Part of the recent problems for the Texans, unable to finish off in the red zone, settling for field goals. This will be 27 yards for Shane Graham. Graham, who kicked for half a season with the Patriots a few years back, and Graham boots it through. So it's 3. Could have been 7, but a drop touchdown. Manning with a 94-yard opening kickoff return puts the Texans on the board. Graham from 27. How do you think Houston walks off the field after putting up 3?
Dejected's not the word, and it's not that you had to get 3 points, but you knew you had a sure touchdown, and it got away.
I tell you, McCourty did a good job of chasing down Manning, didn't he?
Hustle's a great thing in sports, isn't it?
Yeah, no question. Graham's kick comes to McCourty, and McCourty met early, and he makes it nearly to the 20. Stopped by Alan Ball, so Out comes Tom Brady. 16 career postseason wins. That's tied with Joe Montana for the most in NFL postseason history to become the winningest quarterback in playoff action today with a victory. Fulmer from the University of Houston on that right side, an offensive line that is healthy. And Gronkowski, he's back and healthy after missing the first matchup against Houston with that broken forearm.
That's the story. Two great tight ends on the field.
Woodhead gets the start in the backfield, and he is stuck right away. J.J. Watt busting across along with Glover Quinn. Here's the Houston defense that did not allow a touchdown by the Cincinnati offense last week. By the way, Gronkowski missed that first matchup. So did Brooks Reed, his old University of Arizona teammate. And Jonathan Joseph was not 100% in the first matchup. He was still coming back from a hamstring injury.
Unique formation. Houston had trouble lining up.
2nd and 10. Welker with the grab, and he's dragged down right away. Picks up about 8. Jackson brings him down.
Jim, that's something different. Kareem Jackson on Wes Welker. The last time they played, it was Harris that covered him.
Shane Vereen comes into the backfield here for 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
Best in the league on 3rd down, the Patriots. Highest scoring team, #1 offense as well. Brady fires it sideline, incomplete. Joseph on the coverage of Lloyd. So a 3 and out for New England. A team that had scored on its first 3 possessions in that first matchup. 3 touchdowns it was.
Yeah, Tom Brady gets protection here. It is a blitz. And if you're worried about your covering guys down the field, get up on the line of scrimmage, play them tight, and blitz them so Tom Brady has a little less time to make a decision and has to be more accurate with the football.
Zoltan Mesko to send it down to Keyshawn Martin. Feels the low snap. And delivers a boomer all the way back to the 14. Martin stumbles back on his feet and is thrown down by Marquise Cole at the 17. Matthew Slater down there as well after a 61-yard punt.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Honda. Things can always be better. Introducing the best Honda Civic yet. And by IBM. Let's build a smarter planet. Visit IBM.com/smarterplanet.
The Texans not only shellacked here in December, but the only other time they played at Gillette was 2006. They gave up 40 in that one. They had been in those 2 previous times here shut out a total of 48-0 in those 2 games at Gillette. An early field goal on the board today. Chop to Daniels, and Owen Daniels falls for 10, coming off a 9-catch game last week against Cincinnati.
Well, that's what they want to do, throw that football inside when they get a chance. That's what Matt Schaub told us last night. Tight ends against the linebackers.
Schaub coming off his first ever playoff start last week against Cincinnati. 9-year man. Of course, he was not in the playoffs last year. He was out with injury. And T.J. Yates filled in for him. There's another pass play for 10 to Andre Johnson this time. That offensive line starting with Myers, then going left. They're all heading to the Pro Bowl. Brown and Smith and Myers. Newton, by the way, he was absent in the first game against New England. He was out with a knee, but he's back. And of course, Foster, these first 3 playoff games in his career, the first player ever to rush for over 100 yards in his first 3 postseason appearances. On 1st and 10, there's the pass over to Foster. Switches hands with the football, and they have 3 straight plays that have picked up a first down.
Movement, shifting, you talk about it, personnel changes. That's what they do, the Houston Texans offense. And this is how they counter their run game with misdirection. And one of them is screens. They are very good at it. Last time they threw one to Arian Foster in the game 5 weeks ago. He should have ran for a touchdown, but I thought his shoe gave out, but he said his ankle kind of moved on him. That's why he fell down. But really good start for an offense that says they need the rhythm to get it going.
3 plays, 3 first downs. Foster. He is met for no gain by that New England defense, including Vince Wilfork, who once again is heading back to the Pro Bowl. Big Vince in his 9th year. Foster with that last carry, Mayo was a teammate of his at Tennessee. And Talib played well against Andre Johnson in the first meeting before going out with a hip injury in that game. He's healthy now. You think he'll be matched up a lot today against number 80?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Did last game.
2nd and 10, and Schaub goes sideline, and that was over toward Johnson. But again, there was Talib, what we talked about with the tight coverage.
Well, Aqib Talib has really changed, in my opinion, this football team on the defensive side. It's given the defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, confidence that they can play more man-to-man. And in the last 5 games of the year, the Patriots on the defensive side have played much more man-to-man coverage, and have blitzed 2 to 3 times as much as they did all year long.
And you believe he gives them an edge as well.
Oh, yeah.
Some swag.
Yeah, here we go. Some swag. His personality is rubbing off on a lot of on his teammates.
3rd down and 10. Coming after Schaub. Gets it away. And it's going to be stopped well short of the first. Daniels with his 2nd grab, but about 4 yards short of the first. Maybe 5.
Well, it's a pretty good opening series for this offense. I know they had it before, but it was a blitz that time. That's why he had to get rid of it so quick. And if you're going to blitz, put the pressure on the defensive backs to make the tackle. They did. Houston punted.
And it's Donnie Jones in to punt. He punted 7 times here at Gillette last month. A man who had spent the last 5 years with the Rams. There's Wes Welker back to possibly field this one. Good hang time. Welker runs away from it. Backward bounce. And down at the 11-yard line by DeVere Posey. 33-yard punt by Jones gets the job done. Daniel Manning's 94-yard burst set up a Graham field goal. 3-0. Brady coming out for a 2nd time. Welcome Beyonce to the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show on CBS. Submit your photo at cbssports.com/Pepsi for a chance to be seen by millions. Patriots 2nd series. Both series for them starting inside their own 20. It's Bareen running back in for this first snap of their 2nd drive. Brady to Hernandez, and he is quickly brought down by Brady James. Holds him to 4.
Little different look that time on the defensive side. They put Brooks Reed all the way outside like a cornerback instead of just trying to match up against all the quick huddle and all the personnel.
2nd and 5. Brady throwing again, and it's back to Hernandez. 2 straight plays, and he's able to fight his way for a first down. He had 8 catches against the Texans the first go-around. 2 of them went for touchdowns.
Yeah, a little crossing route, and the crossing routes are always good against a team that likes to play man coverage. In other words, you just get a guy and you got to cover him all over the field.
Over back. Here we go, Alabama.
Hard to chase him through all the problems that you can hit.
His first down for New England. It's Bareen shoved out of bounds on a loss of 1. Connor Barwin.
Just almost impossible to go outside against this Houston's defense. It is so-called 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, but when you look at it, Jim, it's really like 5 defensive linemen. So you've got Connor Barwin on one outside and Brooks Reed on the other. They're good, physical outside players.
Gronkowski all the way at the top of your screen. He's got Barrett Ruud on him, 2nd and 11, and Brady sees this matchup and goes for it. And the ball was caught but out of bounds. Brady was hit after he threw it, but he saw that matchup for Gronkowski and tried to expose it.
Yeah, he definitely liked it. Here comes the blitz again. They love it. And I was looking at the other side. I thought it was picked up well. Antonio Smith has really been playing well of late. They will switch positions inside. That's what they do. Confuse the blocking patterns. Make the offensive line less aggressive. And Gronkowski, Jim, when he made that catch, you could tell almost right away his body language was not good.
You know, he had a hard time, too. It was Barwin who fought off his block in that running play, the one before it. It's 3rd and 11, and Brady zips it, and it's caught for a first down. Right between 2 defenders, Welker splits them right between Harris and Jackson, and that'll move the chains.
That time it was Harris on him. Played him well last time, and Kareem Jackson, they got exactly what they wanted from the Patriots. The inside receiver breaking out, but Kareem Jackson was too slow getting off his guy and coming in, make the interception or at least knock it down.
As Gronkowski gets some attention on the bench and is in pain, we hear that Danny Woodhead with a thumb injury already in this game. They're saying from the Patriot bench, questionable. On 1st and 10. Stretch play, no. Brady looking to throw, and he is swamped. There is J.J. Watt, along with Brooks Reed.
This is one fired-up football team now. I don't know if they're going to win today. I'm not saying that, but they were ready to play, Jim. J.J. Watt said to us, look, I hit Tom Brady 5 times the last time. How about that redirection by J.J. Watt? He was fooled, chasing the play, turned and went around, and still got to Tom Brady before he could sit up and throw. But you could tell. He said, yeah, I hit him 5 times, and a couple of them were really good, but I got to sack him. Got it done early today.
He splits that sack with Reed. They've had a sack in all 4 of their postseason games. 2nd and 19, scooped up. Nice catch there by Welker. Yeah, Gronkowski, again, shaken up, and he had missed so much time with that broken forearm on his left arm. Only 1 foot, and he lands on it. He lands on the previously injured forearm.
And look at him right away. He pulls it up to his body to try to protect it. We looked at him, talked to him on Friday. He was in great spirits and said practice was going well, and he was hoping there would be no problems with his forearm.
Houston's defense trying to get the Patriots off the field here. Watt is standing up on 3rd and 8 for Brady in New England. Brady throws it down the middle, and it's dropped this time by Welker. Boy, he made a tough catch on the previous 3rd down throw, but this time he dropped it across the middle that would have extended the drive.
Pass protection was outstanding. You give Tom Brady this long, and you try to cover Wes Welker from the slot. He can go outside, inside, up the field. Almost impossible when protection is that good. Houston lucky.
Mesko coming off a postseason career-long 61 yards. You saw in practice on Friday we were watching.
That week off helped him. He was just destroying the football.
Another good one here. Deshaun Martin decides to field it at the 8. Well, helmets are flying as he takes it to the 20. Patrick Chung in on the tackle, along with Matthew Slater after a 57-yard punt. Gronk is injured. Brady's been sacked, and Houston leads it at 3-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Powerful answers. And by Chili's $20 dinner for 2. Now with new Parmesan crusted steak.
We're back and heading to the locker room. Rob Gronkowski, who was feeling pretty good about things on Friday when we met with him.
Yeah, he was excited. Practice, like we said, it went well. Thought he was healthy.
1st and 10, and over to Johnson. And a gain of about 15 with Talib defending. Let's get the report from Steve Tasker.
Well, you know what kind of player Gronkowski is. He tried to go, tested it on the sidelines, had a raft of trainers around him, but he was in some physical pain. And they finally said they got to check it out, so they took him down inside. But there's no question Gronkowski is physically compromised.
He said to us, I feel a lot better going into this game than I did when I went into the Super Bowl game on that injured leg, that ankle. Last February, sidestepping, it's Foster, and able to get a little bit of room to pick up 2 on what looked like it might be a loss.
Well, a couple little things. This Houston Texans offensive line, how can things change from last game to this one? Already Brandon Brooks, number 79, is in the game. He is 6'5", 340 pounds, and they think that Vince Wilfork can't push him around like he did Ben Jones in the first game. And also, Derek Newton, the right tackle, he is in replacing Ryan Harris. So matchups they like a lot better on the right side this game.
2nd and 8. Houston goes up top, dangerous throw, and Talib was there. Ball batted around. Did Hightower pick it up? No. Hightower running it out like he caught it on the rebound, but incomplete, intended for Andre Johnson.
How about that play? And Akeem Talib, Jim, is an aggressive corner, and he was really rolling, playing as well as you could play. Then he hurt that hip. Well, that's close. A good thing Andre Johnson kept coming back to the football, or it's going to be intercepted. But he gives his defense confidence. There is a thing about your attitude on the defensive side. All the players over there look up to him because they know he is capable of matching up against the best receiver from the other team.
Yeah, they spread it out. 5 wide, 3rd and 8, and in and out of the hands of Foster. Mayo, his old University of Tennessee teammate, denies the completion.
Got to give it just a little more time. The play happens too quick. Let Foster, here he comes across the field. Let him out running. He's going to beat him. But the throw, and of course it's a playoff game. It's early. Quarterback still not quite settled into the game. The play was there to be had.
Second punt to Donnie Jones. Heading to the sideline, and not going to be a good punt here. The numbers, as they keep walking it up to the 35. 29-yard boot, that's it. That's a second drop of the day by the Texans. Ball back to New England.
Watch it.
Backstage here at Gillette. Gronkowski coming out of what we believe is the X-ray room. 1st and 10, Ridley is seeing his first action. And that's the first running play from either side that's produced meaningful yardage. Gain of 16.
Yeah, we talked about it so much. Stephen Ridley, how much he's in. How about Nate Solder, the left tackle, coming all the way across and making that block? But Stephen Ridley makes the decision fast, gets up the field, and second year around, he is an entirely different running back from the guy we saw last year.
Ran for over 1,200 yards. 12 touchdowns. Gets another handle, but Brady James wants to come over and make an introduction. A loss of 2.
Brady James, nobody there. I don't know if they got confused. 53, just going to read it and come forward fast and make the tackle. Now, when you look at this Houston front, it's just about attack, play fast, and when in doubt, I think they're going to blitz. Now, Brady James, they're worried about him inside. Who's he going to cover, the tight ends? Well, don't worry about it. Send him to the quarterback.
3 down. Oh! Wait, 20.
2nd and 12. Play action fake to Ridley, and now dump it off to him. Underneath, and Ridley with a nice wiggle to pick up the first down and escape the presence of Danielle Manning. Picks up 13, first down.
That's pretty good stuff. Nobody's open down the field. Good quick decision. Get it to your running back, and Danielle Manning, Jim, you know it, he is a tremendous tackler in the open field. Got the coverage on that side. They had Wes Welker coming deep. He's covered as he goes across. Good job by Barrett Root seeing him.
New England across midfield for the first time. They got Vereen at the top of the screen now with a linebacker on him.
He's an excellent receiver.
1st and 10, they go to him. Brady James unable to shut off the sideline, and Vereen has it down to the 15.
Well, you lose Gronkowski, so what? I mean, that's a big deal. I didn't mean to say it that way, but you put Vereen out there. And I've seen this guy in practice so many times line up as a wide receiver and catch passes down the field just as good as anybody else can. A little undersized, quick, in excellent hands.
Biggest play of the day from scrimmage on either side. Picks up 25. And first down at the 15. Down to the 1.
Well, this is one of the reasons why the Houston Texans don't play a lot of zone defense. Because look at this, there are people wide open. That might not have been a zone as I see it the second time. Could have been a pick. That's why Hernandez was wide open.
Quickly to the line, and here's the handoff to Vereen, who goes in untouched. Shane Vereen from a yard out.
They're great at it. When they get down in close like that, they run the hurry-up offense. They do not allow the defense a chance to dig in and get ready for the run.
Houston wasn't even close to being ready for that snap. They were so out of sync and confused, and Brady knew it. Quick snap, quick to the line.
Well, you're playing goal line defense, so when you're playing goal line defense and half of your guys are still standing up, that's not a good sign.
Vereen with the big 25-yard reception to help set it up. And now Gostowski for the extra point. 7-3 New England. 65-yard drive coming on the heels of a poor punt.
Well, it was a good drive. It did confuse them here at the end. Look at the Houston Texans, just not ready for it. You've got to know this. Anytime the play, it's 3rd and down or 4th down and short, they're going to quick snap you. Could be a quarterback sneak. And when it gets inside the 5-yard line, you see the quick snap again. But a well-designed drive that time, Jim. You know, you put Vereen outside. They're giving matchup problems already to this Houston defense.
Well, at the start of this drive, they brought in Ridley for the first time in the game, and he gave them a couple of first downs, and then Vereen was able to do the rest. After managing only a pair of first downs, New England on its first 2 drives, that one was good for 5 first downs and all the way down the field, 65 yards and a touchdown.
Well, I'll just say this, except for the backup quarterback, Ryan Mallett, you better be ready to play, because I think that's one of the strengths of the Patriots, and it has been for years. They play everybody on both sides. There are a lot of teams in the league now that play all their guys on the defensive side, but the Patriots get all their offensive players in the game each single week.
All right, so Gostowski will be kicking it again.
Look at that formation they got out there, trying to confuse the blocking of the Houston Texans.
So Manning, who stands in the end zone, 5 yards deep. Not going to get a run back try this time, I don't believe. And a touchback. Little Sim spotlight on the effort by McCourty to save a touchdown to begin the game.
Well, we got him circled. He protects the outside, which he is supposed to do, but he doesn't give up on the play and just keeps digging, and it was worth 4 points. You know, never give up on the play, what? Until you hear the whistle. So Devin McCourty, a corner, now moved to safety, and I think he might have found a home because they're pretty excited about having a big, smart, athletic safety. That's Devin McCourty.
57 yards of offense for the Texans. Play action fake, zipped, and caught by Johnson. What a grab there. Reaching out, pass to Talib to take it for 16.
Well, so far it takes a heck of a throw and a heck of a catch against Talib. This is not quite, man-to-man. He's going to lock him down. He let him release to the inside, but good design by the Texans. They love play-action fakes to the right and throwing the football back to the left side, of course, to the number 1 receiver, Andre Johnson.
3 receivers in the game now. Posey, Walter, and Johnson, along with backup tight end Garrett Graham. They go with Foster, and again, he's getting reacquainted with Mayo. They have not been able to free Foster so far in this game at all on the ground. Loss of 2. For complete NFL playoff coverage, including everything you need to know from the divisional playoffs all the way through Super Bowl 47, visit CBSSports.com/NFL. You talk about Foster, over 1,400 yards. All these 100-yard performances in the postseason last year and last week, but nothing so far.
I'll say this to Matt Schaub, you better start changing up that snap count because the linebackers timing it too well with the run game.
Final seconds, first quarter, 2nd and 12, and there's Foster. They got him in the passing game, and he steps out of bounds after picking up the first down. Dinner shoves him out. Gain of 12, so a new set of downs to start the new quarter. Vereen scores the touchdown. New England leads 7-3 after 1, and you're watching the NFL on CBS. Jim Nance, Bill Sims, Steve Tasker. We start the second quarter here in Foxborough. New set of downs for the Texans. From the 47. Trying to get Foster going, and again, never able to accelerate as Vince Wilfork comes in and blows up the play for no gain.
Might be the longest we've ever gone in a game without talking about Vince Wilfork. 75 inside, getting double teamed, but gets away from it. Vince Wilfork, when you look at him, 325 pounds, has great endurance, and just has, balance. And he's big from head to toe, So he can take on those double teams and still get away and make those tackles.
2nd and 10. Going to go back up top, across the middle, overthrown, and dangerously close to the feet there of McCourty. He was trying to find Owen Daniels. Tonight on 60 Minutes, how long can a human hold his breath? And how deep can a diver actually go? Amazing answers on 60 Minutes tonight. Only CBS. Coach Bill Belichick.
He's coaching the team today. We saw Rob Gronkowski go out, but said that it's by far the healthiest they have been all year long.
Houston trying to convert on 3rd down for the first time. 3rd and 10. Cobb rolls out, flips it to Daniels, incomplete. Wilson on the coverage. The rookie from Illinois.
Well, we've talked about it. It's just a different defense. Watch everybody. Look how everybody is matched up against the receiver and running right with them, and nobody is open. Tavon Wilson, nice job. Got a little grab of him there, but it was still good coverage. Ready to go underneath in case the pass was thrown low.
Danny Jones. Not a good punt the last time. This one, fair catch at the 15. Welker. 37-yard punt. That was their attempt on 3rd down through the hands of Daniels. Back to New England. Brady and the Patriots. Again, Gronkowski out, questionable to return as Ridley tries to squirm for a couple. Brooks Reed is there to knock him down. Wade Phillips' defense. They gave up a touchdown on that last drive, but they had a strong start those first 2 series, and that defense that has so many impressive numbers on the year overall.
Yeah, Wade Phillips had to go in and talk to his football team and say, hey, you guys, let's go. Let's get some swagger back here. And he started reading off all the stats. Tell them you're in the top 10 of every statistical category in the NFL.
2nd and 8 and incomplete. And that's one thing. In fact, they actually allow the lowest completion percentage by opposing quarterbacks of any team in the league, as that one falls incomplete. 3rd and 8.
Well, that makes sense because they like the blitz and they like to play man-to-man coverage. That will usually drive down quarterback's completion percentage. But he did. He said he went in there, tried to pick them up. Instead of going into there and saying, you guys, my gosh, and yelling at them and being mean, I guess you would say, he took the opposite approach. Tried to pump them up. And he said last week against Cincinnati, they were flying around the field again, which they were.
In fact, did not allow a 3rd down conversion the entire game by the Bengals. They've given up a few conversions today to the Patriots on 3rd down. 3rd and 8, and Brady's got a conversion here to Welker. And he's walloped near midfield at the 47 by Quinn and Cayo.
It's the formations. Look, they get 3 guys together over here, and it's the last second movement by the offense. Now it makes the defense go, oh my gosh, who do we have? And you saw the leverage was there for Wes Welker. Nobody on his inside.
And quickly they go to Vereen, who rips off a good run here. And Vereen stiff arms go on his feet down to the 31. So after a 30-yard pass play to Welker, they come back with 22 on the ground with Vereen.
There's a pattern. And the pattern is if they get a big play, they come right in there and they snap it before you're ready again.
Really in the hurry-up mode now. 51. Trying to keep this Texans defense on its heels.
31's a Mike, area. 53, Mike. Brown. Bandit.
Touchdown from the 30. And it's Vereen. And that's another big chunk of yardage. Give him 8 more. Running behind Ryan Wendell.
It's just a big key for the Patriots. They go to hurry up. They spread the formation. There's an extra defensive back in there, so the defense is smaller, and they know it. You have to run against that look. You got big guys. They got small guys. That's when you run.
6-6.
2nd and 2.
Read it.
And the pass to Walker incomplete with the coverage that time by Brandon Harris. And they were trying to blitz Brady on that one.
Well, listen, Jim, we do it every single week. Oh, look at that block by Vereen coming across and just wipes out the blitzer.
Yeah, Brady James.
Tom Brady, I'm not going to say he gets the best pass protection in the NFL, but it's definitely in the top 5.
Over.
Why not?
Hey.
3rd and 2.
Great player. Make sure he stays out there.
The toss. Vereen cuts back. It scampers for the first down. He got away from Connor Barwin, who was going to deck him for a loss, and ends up picking up 6.
Well, you got Shane Vereen against Connor Barwin out in the middle of the field. That's a tough matchup. They fake the sweep by the wide receiver going right, and then he pitches it out to the other side. All teams do it, but that was just a different look to it, and it caught the defense a little bit by surprise.
You always talk about how fast Patriots try to score when they get in this red zone territory.
Yeah, when they get inside the 30, they're looking for the one-play score. Usually that means down the middle of the field.
There he is, incomplete. And ball was pinched against the turf by Lloyd. They lined up Hernandez on that play in the backfield. And now a flag has just come out. We did not have a flag in the entire first quarter. Tony Corrente. And they're backing up New England.
You always hear the term late flag. And
At the conclusion of the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 85, throwing the ball at the game official. As it was after the play, it will be second down after enforcement.
Well, that's why that one was late.
Yeah, it was late, and that's all it could be is a delay game, unsportsmanlike conduct. So frustration by Brandon Lloyd not getting the catch.
Brandon Lloyd playing in his first ever postseason game. Ooh.
That was a little hard.
Yeah, a little too much velocity.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And the frustration is Brandon Lloyd plays in an offense where they have so many other stars, and sometimes he wants his share of the football.
2nd and 25. They go screen with Vereen. He's having a hot first half, and Vereen gets fallen on at the 19. KO was there along with James.
Over the years, doing a lot of Patriot games, Jim. Good job by Logan Mankins and also Ryan Wendell. Offensive linemen, make sure you go to the ground on the screens. At least make the defensive player run around you.
Deion Branch into the game, top of the screen. 3rd and 13, and Brady to the end zone, and it's incomplete over the head of Hernandez. Now they'll bring out Gostowski.
Good coverage that time down the field. Glover Quinn had a good day against Aaron Hernandez the last time they played 5 weeks ago. And was underneath him that time. Nowhere to throw the football.
So after converting 13 of the last 15 red zone trips into touchdowns, this time they're looking for the field goal from Gostowski, and the kick from 37 is good. They had Sebastian Vollmer on that field goal attempt lined up wide to the left. I thought there might be some trickery, but it's just a field goal, 10-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by OfficeMax. Stock up and save at OfficeMax now with thousands of big deals across the store. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by the all-new Dodge Dart. Dodge. New rules.
And let's take a look at our nationwide insurance Skycam. That third down pass play, they went to Hernandez, and again, they're without the Gronkowski, who was injured in that first quarter.
Right.
Apparently re-injuring that fractured forearm that had him sitting in the first matchup against the Texans. We asked him, were you on the sideline that night? He said, no, I was at home watching it on my couch.
That's how they do it in New England. If you're not playing, you're not here.
Manning trying to let him get going and again on the return game after that electrifying 94-yard start to this one.
Well, you look at what the Texans have done on offense so far. I think it's a big drive, Jim. They got to establish the fact that they can make plays against this defense. And it's been tough running the football. But you know, you're going to have one-on-one coverage all over the field. Matt Schaub is going to have to be dead accurate with his football today. The windows are going to be tight. So he's got to give his guys a chance to make those catches.
And they need to get Foster going. He had only 46 yards in that first matchup. Fake to him here. And the pass caught. Again, Johnson and Talib are out there together. And Andre Johnson has another grab. This one for 14. 3 yards rushing so far for the Texans in this one.
Well, you can just tell there is nowhere. It's not bad reads by the quarterback. Nowhere to run. This is I hate to say it this way, but it is a finesse offensive line. The way they run the football, the Patriots are not a finesse defensive line. Big and strong.
Here he is, trying to get outside. Here's his first running lane. And he was able to make it happen himself as he cut outside and picked up 8 yards.
Well, we talked to Arian Foster last night, and you watch him run. Just stay engaged with the defensive lineman. He will find a way. That time it was Brown that hooks Chandler Jones. He found that lane and bounced outside. Smart runner, changes the football as he's running. That's kind of dangerous in there.
Andre Johnson is out now for the second straight play, kind of shaking his hand on the sideline. Second, we'll call it 3. And Foster's tripped up. Look at Ninkovich with a flag out. Ninkovich, who injured a hip in the last week of the regular season against Miami, able to be right back in action in the next game.
Offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty and second down.
And call on the right tackle, Derek Newton.
Well, this run game of theirs, everybody just kind of moves in the same direction to the right. And Ninkovich is held and still makes the play. But when you do that, that's great. But the Patriots are attacking, pushing those guys going side to side backwards. And that's why Arian Foster's having a hard time finding somewhere to run.
First penalty of the game against the Texans, and Andre Johnson back on the field. 2nd and 13. Schaub with good time and hits his man in stride. That's the catch by Posey, who's starting to become a presence in the passing game at Houston. That's good for 24.
Yeah, they're pretty excited about this. Finally, the rookie wide receiver comes all the way across the field, and here's why he's open. Dennard is a good cover guy, but Posey, watch him run. He turns it on right there, and he takes off. Might be the fastest receiver on the field for the Houston Texans.
Desir Posey, 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State. They certainly gave Schaub the time he needed to find a streaking Posey. Good for their longest play of the day, 24 yards. A pass batted down by Gregory, trying to hit Daniels. Monday on CBS. To solve this case, America will vote for the ending live. 3 suspects, 3 endings, your choice. All new Hawaii 5-0 Monday on America's #1 network.
I like this drive by the Texans. Being aggressive, that's what you got to do. You got to figure out a way where you can score in the high 20s to beat the New England Patriots. Keep throwing the football. Use Arian Foster as a decoy. In other words, just give him some handoffs every once in a while when they are expecting pass.
No Wilfork out there right now getting a rest. Kyle Lovin for him, and that is Hightower, the rookie from Alabama, throwing Posey down for a loss on that play.
This is not a sit back and wait and come at his defense. We're seeing it. It's changed, Jim. We've talked about it. They are aggressive, attack the football. We said they're blitzing. Haven't seen a lot of blitzing so far, but Hightower, big. Looks like he could be a defensive lineman, but has learned to play out in space better.
Looks like he could be a wrestler. Throws him down, tosses him around, loss of 2. Again, Houston 0 for 4 on 3rd down. Need to get to the 36 to extend it. Coming after it. Graham knocked down after the catch as Gregory makes plays a couple of times on this series. Holds them to 5.
Jim, it's 3rd and long. You got to find a way to block them. They just make a mental mistake that time. Ben Jones has got to look for the blitzer, sees him too late. That's what the Patriots want. Throw it short and make the tackle.
So Donnie Jones back out, the punt now for the 4th time. During the bye week, Coach Belichick told us they spent a lot of the time tinkering with their special teams. As the flag comes out. Well, actually, it might be a timeout first. Timeout, New England.
This is their first. This is a 30-second timeout.
Now, you were talking about the Patriots with the head coach, and Belichick couldn't agree more that as far as the health of his football team, maybe the healthiest they've been all season long, even week 1. Of course, now you got Gronkowski injured earlier in this game, but he felt really good about where this team was physically coming in to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, too, you got to look on the defensive side, too, Jim. You know, now you have Aqib Talib out there, and the defensive line has gotten better. So the attitude has definitely changed, as we've talked about.
Welker is at the 7-yard line. Jones takes something off of it. Welker runs away from it, and a favorable New England bounce. Just a net of 23. Welker was doing the head count, called the timeout. New England ball at the 20. Gary Kubiak in his 7th year as the head coach of the Houston Texans. The man on the opposite sideline, Bill Belichick, in his 7th year as a head coach. Won a Super Bowl down in New Orleans. 1st and 10, and there is J.J. Watt with Ridley getting his attention and a stare down. No, don't bring it my way. Don't even think about it.
Well, you know, there's certain guys I wouldn't talk to or get mad, and he is absolutely one of them. He is double teamed. We saw it with Vince Wilfork on the other side, just breaks through, and J.J. Watt is absolutely terrific against the run game. Can get around offensive linemen so fast and still make tackles in the backfield.
A loss of 1. 2nd and 11, moving inside 6 minutes, first half. Brady, and incomplete. Broken up by Kareem Jackson. Welker was the target.
It was a blitz. They lined up, not even trying to hide it, showing it's going to be almost an all-out blitz. I like that style when the Texans do it. It limits some of the passing opportunities for the New England Patriots. Everybody's up there. Look how tight the front 7 are. And good coverage by Kareem Jackson. So they're switching up on who's covering Wes Welker because it can be a tiring task, no doubt about it.
3rd and 11.
What? 29, there.
This beats the play clock. It's the time. Throws. As Welker for the first down and the 4th conversion of the day. Welker, who blew out his knee down at Houston back in 2009 when he ripped up that ACL, going against the Texans here today in a couple of big grabs.
Well, the outside route, it's just so hard to cover. He does so many of them across the field. It was a blitz by the Texans. J.J. Watt running into some traffic, but it was a blitz. Did not get there quick enough. Tom Brady, plenty of time, easy throw.
3rd time Welker has caught a ball on 3rd down, picked up the 1st. Brady. Over to Lloyd, who loses his footing. Now the ball comes flying in there, holds him to the 7-yard gain. Verizon halftime report coming up. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher. Their thoughts on the first half of this game, plus the highlights from that NFC divisional game, Seattle and Atlanta, and all the latest playoff news coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
3rd down, such a big key in the game. 3rd long, they let the Patriots get an easy completion to Wes Welker.
2nd and 2. Ridley, stutter step move, straight ahead, first down. Nate Solder helped that one go for 5.
Well, they do so many different things. Well, Nate Solder, about a left tackle. He went to college, I think, to be a tight end, so that tells you he's athletic and what he can do, and it's just grown into a man, so he has to play an offensive lineman and able to pull around and lead runs from the tackle position.
At Colorado, Was an academic All-America. 1st and 10. Play action fake. Brady down the sideline looking. And it's caught by Welker. What a grab by Welker. Right over Kareem Jackson. 47 to Welker.
You just take chances. When you know it's this type of coverage, it's man-to-man on the outside. You just make the throw, and Wes Welker is physical, along with Kareem Jackson. We saw it in the Baltimore game yesterday. You got to make contested catches. He did get that right arm to help him separate a little, but look, catching the football for wide receivers, sometimes, or a lot of times now, it's about being tougher than the guy that's covering you.
6 for 120 for Welker. 1st and goal. Brady's over 200 yards passing. Brady goes over to Vereen, and Vereen is all alone for the touchdown. Shane Vereen with his 2nd touchdown of the game.
Can't even get lined up. Once again, Shane Vereen comes out of the backfield. That's what happens. You hit the big play. The defense is reeling. They're not thinking clearly, and they do not get the assignment straight. Uncovered.
Gary Kubiak knows that 3rd down conversion to Welker, followed up by the 47-yard pass play to Welker. And suddenly his Texans are down 2 touchdowns. Right here. You think he's going to catch it? He finds a way. Pulls it in with that left hand.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters in 3D. In theaters January 25th. This film is not yet rated.
Well, that's twice now Shane Vereen has found the end zone. He's gone in without anyone touching him. 8 yards from Brady on this occasion. And Gostowski this time going to have a run back by Manning from the 2. Manning trying to get to the outside. He's got the edge. There's Gostowski. Oh, on the horse collar, it's got to be. Going to tack on an additional 15.
That definitely is. How about Daniel Manning?
A 35-yard return by Manning, backing up his 94-yard effort. It looked like Gostowski might have been hurt.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, kicking team number 3. This 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run.
Well, when you grab the runner by the jersey, back of the shoulder pads, and pull them backwards or sideways, that is typical horse collar call.
Big play for Houston. And here you have 3.5 minutes to go in the half, and now you got a short field, and Gostowski's still grimacing.
Well, you look at Houston, you know what you're going to get now from the Patriots defense. I like this. Show some different formations.
Take the end around. They go inside with Foster. Arian Foster butts heads there with McCourty and is tackled at the 26. 21 yards for Arian Foster with that run.
Yeah, this league is about deception. You know, give them a different formation, some movement, make the defense think. That way they just react to what you're doing instead of just coming forward and trying to attack you and beat you up.
Foster again. Foster showing that speed inside the 10 and down at about the 8. Out of bounds at maybe the 7.
Well, they're finally making contact with the defensive line. Ben Jones, nice job, gets it done. Chris Myers at center is so athletic and fast. He's able to move and get to the linebackers and make blocks to let Arian Foster get down the field.
Arian Foster with 19 yards on that carry.
They went to the sideline. Maybe they were upset. Whatever it was, it worked.
40 yards on the last 2 plays by Foster. And a 1st and goal to go. And he's down at the 5. And again, this has been problematic for the Texans. since they came up here to New England the last month of the season, closing out drives.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, Jim, like I've said many times, when you get inside the 10-yard line, you either got to be powerful on the offensive side just to smash it on them, or you got to trick them. In other words, show them something they haven't seen before. We'll see if the Texans can do it.
2nd and goal coming up out of the 2-minute warning. 2nd and goal. Jim Mansfield sends Steve Tasker and the crew here. Can the Texans finish off a drive? Foster dives down to about the 1. Went low, picked up 4.
That's one thing he does really well. When you watch this Houston Texans, you watch Arian Foster run the football, he just kind of glides, and when he knows the play is in trouble, he's able to dive for an extra yard or 2. He must have done it about 7 or 8 times last week, and when you're playing down here, that extra yard or 2 is a big deal. Now, you're in 4-down territory.
Come on, we're good.
And they make something happen on 3rd down. 3rd and goal. Foster is near the goal line. He's in for the touchdown.
You said to Matt Schaub last night, if it's a big run play, where are you going? He goes, and we all laugh because we know it's going to go left a lot of times. And why? Because on that left side, you have Dwayne Brown and Wade Smith, 2 big, powerful run blockers. How about Andre Johnson?
How about Casey also? Let's give him some credit. He threw his body in there, and
Casey.
Again, all touchdowns have to be verified. He hit a wall right before the goal line.
Yeah, that's a good shot. Could have snuck the tip of that football on that white line.
Well, that left side you talked about, he ran behind. They're going to take another look at that one. That last replay definitely activated the replay booth. Boy, at first glance, we weren't so sure, but some later evidence coming in makes you think that he did break the plane.
Well, hard to pick up the football with all these bodies in there. Now he is not on the ground. When at that spot right there, then he lunges forward just a little bit. You can see how close he is to the end zone.
Tony Corrente has the answer.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Hard to tell the football where it was, so you couldn't overturn the play. And the initial surge, Jim, you know, when we watched it live, I went, well, initially it looked like he was just in that end zone too.
Foster starting to get in a nice rhythm here in the late first half. 47 yards on that last drive, and the Texans' first touchdown. Rams' extra point is good. Well done by Donnie Jones on the hold, getting it down. Little high snap.
Well, let's look at it, Jim, one more time from a different angle. Well, this one's going to be tight too. So many bodies in there. The original call was touchdown. And
that one, it certainly didn't look like he had crossed it. This one,
tell me on this one. There, that last surge.
Again, just got to break it for a moment. And it looked like that last surge, and I think you see it here as well. That move right there.
Yeah, that's a good shot there. It's pretty clear there that time.
Arian Foster has a touchdown in his 4th straight playoff game.
That's kind of, you know, hey, nothing like looking on a board that's about 30 feet wide or whatever and seeing yourself. I know you would love that opportunity.
Thank you.
But that was one big drive by this Texans offense.
5 plays. Remember, Manning now, Danielle Manning having a hand in all 10 of the Houston points on those 2 magnificent returns. Brady will have over a minute to work with and a couple of timeouts. McCourty able to bounce off the first hit. Up in the owner's suite here, there's a picture there from down at the Superdome, which brings back good memories for this Patriots organization. And a win down there against St. Louis. And his 20th, trying to achieve his 20th postseason win as the chairman and the CEO of the Patriots.
Well, plenty of time, a minute 9, 2 timeouts for the Patriots.
And that's 4 yards for Shane Vereen, who has already again scored 2 touchdowns, one by run, one by pass. Only the second Patriot to ever score in the postseason by both running the football and receiving. Deion Branch, the other, at Pittsburgh, 04 AFC title game.
Well, they're taking their time a little bit here, and I'll tell you why after this play.
Inside of 40, and incomplete.
You know, they're kind of playing it both ways, Jim. You know, you get in a situation like this, you don't want to go, hey, let's hurry up. And then you go 3 and out, and all of a sudden you look up and there's 55 seconds ago, and Houston has 3 timeouts, and you're punting it back to them. So they were kind of hedging their bet. That's the best way to say it. Now, if they get a first down, it's going to be go, go, go after that.
Of course, if they don't get a first down and Houston with all 3 timeouts, be interested to see if they would try to do anything.
Well, but what if they don't get it? At least they took some time off the clock to make it more difficult for Houston.
3rd and 6. Brady in trouble, and he was hit when he threw it. That was J.J. Watt. It was in on Brady.
I'll tell you, there was trouble if that football went down the field, too. J.J. Watt watched the move, double teamed, and gets through him. And the thing about him, isn't that amazing? Even when you double team and he gets by, and watch how fast, boom, stays on his feet and keeps going. Just an unbelievable athlete when you just sit and focus on him. It's every play he does something that almost amazes you. Let's go. You can't believe a guy his size can do it.
Let's go. His 3rd year, had some pressure. That was Ko who comes in on him, and it draws a flag. Now, was he blocked into the punter? That was on 4th and 6. Shiloh Ko made contact.
And it also depends, Jim, when contact is made.
And it was a Patriot in there as well.
Running into the kicker as a player came to the ground and rolled over the player on the ground. Therefore, there is no foul. First down, Houston.
That's what I thought they might call on second thought.
And therefore, when I was watching the play live, Ko, you think he's going to get in there and get the block.
See, Chung was the one who also made contact, as Ko did have an opening right up the middle. Finally, Houston at the 38-yard line after that 32-yard punt. 24 seconds, all 3 timeouts. Scored with a minute and 15 to go in the half, and now could even perhaps, if they complete a pass or 2, pick up some bonus points before the intermission. There's the catch. Casey diving for it, and got to be a quick timeout.
There you go.
18 seconds. Ball at the 49. On the Houston side of the field. Coming up, Verizon halftime report with JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, Coach Cowher. Again, their thoughts on the first half here, plus that playoff action. Seattle and Atlanta. I saw you calling for a timeout. I haven't seen you that animated since you saw an onside kick at the end of the Atlanta-Seattle game today.
Yeah.
After Atlanta had taken the lead with seconds to go, they onside kick it.
You know, playoff football is unbelievable. The emotions. And you know what? All the decisions coaches make, they become more important, not only because it's the playoffs, because you're playing a good football team. So you got to manage it the right way. And I can't wait to go home tonight, watch all the highlights, and watch that press conference why there was an onside kick.
Of course, Atlanta went on to win. 30-28 victory. Next week we'll host San Francisco on the NFC side for the right to go to the Super Bowl. 2nd down and 1, but only 18 seconds, and that's the key. Schaub What a grab between two Patriots. Owen Daniels, and Houston will need to call another quick timeout.
Every throw, that's what you got to be. When you play a defense like the Patriots now, the quarterback, good pass protection up front, got them all sealed off. And look, every time we see a completion down the field, the defender is right there on him.
He had two Patriots draped on him, and Gregory was trying his best to pull that ball out, but Daniels wouldn't let go.
Yeah, when you talk about Owen Daniels, he's not big like Gronkowski, but he can do it all. Good blocker, good hands, sneaky fast. That's what really gives him all those catches.
Their place kicker, Shane Graham, his longest made kick of the year, 51 yards.
You got to get in the huddle and tell everybody the situation. 11 seconds to go. Don't fight for an extra yard or two in the middle of the field, because you need to call that timeout to give the field goal kicker a chance.
Then with one timeout, Schaub's pass incomplete, 7 seconds.
Well, with 7 seconds, Jim, I think it limits what you can do. And when I looked at that right there with 11 seconds, I thought a double move. They're so tight on these tight ends inside. If they break outside and turn back up the field, they're going to be wide open. Because the guys are running these routes against a linebacker, they're just not nimble enough to make the second move or redirect. But now you got to take something short and hope for the long field goal.
Schaub across the middle, catch made. Timeout, Daniels. Oh, the clock runs out on Houston. Schaub says we got 1 second.
This timeout hits with 2 seconds on the game clock. This is their final timeout.
I heard the whistle blow and was looking at the clock, and I could see 2 seconds were left.
From here, it's going to be about 55 yards for Graham.
That was hard work, wasn't it? But it was a good job by this Houston offense.
Hard work for Owen Daniels on 2 catches. See if you can hear the whistle. Okay, here you go. No place kicker before this attempt has ever tried one from 50 yards in a postseason game in Gillette Stadium history. This is 55 yards by Shane Graham. Graham absolutely hits it as hard as he can and drills it from 55. That brings Robert McNair, the owner of the Texans, to his feet. Career long for Shane Graham.
And it's a unique day in this stadium, Jim, where the wind is not blowing in this time to the kicker. The wind direction's always against the offense when they go towards the open end, but not today. No wind on that field.
10 points in the final 75 seconds of the half. Shane Graham, who again was the Patriot place kicker a couple of years back when Gostowski was injured, and he never missed. He went 12 for 12 that season. And the owner's box on the Houston side is delighted with the end of that first half. Let's go down to Steve Tasker.
Coach, pretty good first half. Tell me what they're doing to you defensively is maybe giving you problems.
Well, they played us in a lot of man, so we're going to be aggressive, Steve. We're going to have to make some big plays, if we're going to find a way to get this done today. So we're very aggressive. We settled down. We ran the ball better at the end of the half, and obviously we're going to just keep plugging away, trying to make big plays.
Okay, Coach, thanks a lot.
Okay.
That's the end of the first half with the score New England 17 and Houston 13. We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. New England will be receiving the kickoff here to start the third quarter. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. Boy, Schaub and the Texans, they sprinted to that locker room with an extra bounce on their step. First time they've had really any confidence in 6 quarters this season up here at Gillette Stadium. That last minute and a half certainly changed things, and we'll have to re-tee it here.
Well, the big thing is, Jim, can you take it to the locker room and can you get out on the field quick enough to keep it going? And you're right. You could see the emotion on their sideline as they ran off the field.
Taken by Slater, the up man, and Matthew Slater heading to the Pro Bowl as a special teamer. Takes it out to the 31, the son of the Hall of Famer Jackie Slater. All right, so we got a 17-13 game, and what really turned things around here, you believe?
Well, you know, I think it's interesting. We talked to Gary Kubiak yesterday, and we said it already once in the game that he goes, the losses and losing the way they did up here brought him back down to earth, and he thinks it made his football team tougher. I think we saw some of that toughness here in the first half. Down 17-3, keep fighting. The opportunities came, and they took advantage of them.
Boy, Slater kind of dragging that left shoulder. Hit on that return as Brady's throw is very nearly into the hands of Jonathan Joseph. Let's go down to Steve Tasker.
Well, coming out of halftime, I spoke to Bill Belichick. He said as good a job as they did in the running game against Arian Foster, he still got him for a few runs. He can't have that. They want to get him bottled up. And also, offensively, they've got to be better on first and second down to stay out of long yardage. Also, I asked him about Gronkowski. He says he's continuing to be worked on, but nothing yet about his return.
Yeah, he's been out since early in the first quarter, Gronkowski, and he was in a lot of pain.
Read it.
2nd and 10 from the gun. Welker. And he's got about 7. 3rd down on the way. First half shot through for 146. Houston, by the way, no giveaways, no sacks allowed, and only 1 penalty. Green starting on the New England side with 85 total yards and the 2 touchdowns. There you see 47, Po'o Manawanui seeing more action in the tight end now with Gronkowski's absence. 3rd and 4. Brady's pass to Hernandez, and the forward progress will be good for a first down.
You know, the late movement by the Patriots, they do this. Watch Hernandez. He moved a little bit, and now nobody covers him. And I don't know if they're waiting for the inside player to come out there, but about the 3rd time in this game, when they stack the receivers to get close, the defense backs off, and nobody runs with the underneath receiver.
Yeah.
4th catch of the game for Aaron Hernandez. Deion Branch in, and there's a cross quickly to Welker. Jackson has him by the ankles. James finishes him off up high, and a gain of 6.
Well, you know, these are run plays for the Patriots. They throw so many screens to the outside. It's like a run. Watch the blitz, how late it comes. Tom Brady is looking out there, likes the matchup. Still, the blitz is picked up by the safety or the offensive line. Logan Mankins gets the safety. Wide receiver screens, always a big part of the offense for the Patriots.
2nd and 4. Hernandez as Grover Quinn fell down, and Hernandez cuts back middle. Hernandez inside the 20. Hernandez gallops down to the 12-yard line.
I said Glover Quinn had success against Aaron Hernandez the last time they played. Well, that time Aaron Hernandez just goes up and just knocks him down. Runs him over, and Glover Quinn, I'm sure, is getting up going there. Can you believe it? He was in front of Hernandez. He's allowed to be in that space. But Aaron Hernandez, like a wide receiver, but just a lot bigger, tough to cover the open field.
Picks up 40. First down at the 12. And it's Ridley. Off right tackle, and he slides in there for another 4 behind Logan Mankins.
Well, you're here, you know, you're the Houston Texans. Look at Matt Schaub. He's going, oh my gosh, you know, we just got back in this game 17-13. Get me on the field. And the Patriots come right out and take the momentum and put it back on their side. Good play calling, good execution.
Scoring on its last 28 red zone possessions. New England from the 8, 2nd and 6. And it's Ridley running in for the touchdown. Stephen Ridley. And again, Mankins had thrown a key block a couple of plays ago, and he does it here as well. The Pro Bowl guard helping send Ridley to the promised land.
Goes in untouched. Left guard pulls around. Oh my gosh, that is a tremendous block on Brady James. Guess that's what you call getting to the next level untouched. What's the next level being where the linebackers play, or whatever you want to say, the safeties. But the running game for the Patriots, much better this year than it was last year.
And Gostowski, we thought he might have been shaken up. He was trying to make that tackle. He's out, and he drills the extra point. So you talk about coming right back out and saying, hold on a minute. We're going to regain that momentum with a statement drive to open up the third. Right down the field for the touchdown. 7 plays out of the locker room. 69 yards, 3.5 minutes. And Ridley, who rushed for 12 touchdowns in the regular season, has one in the post. All touchdowns by the Patriots coming from running backs. 2 by Vereen. 1 by Ridley and a touchback. By the way, Kareem Jackson right here, 25 of the Texans.
Keep watching. Watch his right foot. It's on the ground. His ankle. Oh, rolls it over, and he limped off the field. So that's a big one. Starting corner, plays against Wes Welker some. They cannot afford an injury. They're pretty thin when it comes to covering the wide receiving core of this Patriots team.
Arian Foster brought down by Dederick and a gain of 6. Tomorrow, Big Dave goes one-on-one with Phil Simms. You send in that picture there of you? More importantly, are you going to treat him like you treat me? Are you going to be all over him tomorrow?
I treat you with love and respect.
Put down city.
Wait, what were you saying about my picture? Did I look bad?
Wait a minute. Why don't you tell the people? Last night in the production meeting, we spent 10 minutes you complaining about your picture.
Oh, good stuff.
2nd and 4. Good luck on that.
I like you too.
We'll be watching. Here's Schaub over to Daniels, and Mayo ball's out. Ball comes out at the end. It's still on the ground. Spikes quit celebrating for a minute here. Maybe wants to jump on the pile. Had his back turned. And it's New England football.
Forward progress was ruled. Forward progress had been ruled. Therefore, there is no fumble on the play.
Oh, that's right.
Down.
When they came in, they ruled forward progress had stopped him. That's why you saw one of the officials come in right away and say no. Ooh,
boy, that was awfully quick.
Well, I thought, okay, I can understand why they called forward progress, but no, after seeing the replay, that's a tough call against the Patriots.
Wilford recovered, but it doesn't matter.
And of course, when you talk about forward progress, this is not reviewable. So it's going to remain the Houston Texans ball.
No, you can't even throw the challenge flag here. Not reviewable.
Well, just think of it this way. It's like pass interference. It's a judgment call, so you can't review those type of plays.
3rd and 5. In on Schaub. Shakes off the hit. And he throws it away on the run. And it was Justin Francis who had Schaub forced out of the pocket. Thought he might kind of hang in there a little bit longer because he had a lot of free room over there to maybe get reset here.
Yeah, he did. When he got out here, I saw receivers open up down the field, but he wasn't sure. Now he knows. That's why you see him drop his head. I look at the Patriots, that opening drive, how their defense flew around there. That bye week sometimes can give your football team a little rust. Maybe they shook it off.
As the first 3 and out for the Texans today, another poor punt here. And Welker is smashed by Dix. Welker fielding it on one hop. Hernandez 40-yarder set up the touchdown run. And the Patriots have the football back, up 11.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And by the all-new 2013 Ford Escape. It's what happens when you go further.
Vital time right now for this Texans defense. 1st and 10 New England after having just driven it. 65 yards for a touchdown to open this half.
You Wade Wade Phillips, if you got something you haven't shown him, bring it out now.
Out of the gun on 1st down. There's Vereen, brought down by Rude. And a gain of 4. For all of your exclusive Super Bowl 47 event information, offers, news, and more, text Super Bowl to 69635 or go to NFL.com/Super Bowl. The running backs having a big time of it today, especially Vereen. He's now up to 89 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
The defense did not move after that hard count.
And the way Kareem Jackson is out there on defense. And there's a pass. In fact, denied by Jackson. We saw him hobbling after rolling that ankle on the Ridley touchdown run. But he sets up a 3rd and 5.
Well, a couple things. Good coverage, 25, bottom of your screen. And then Tom Brady gets hit by Antonio Smith. That's a pretty good shot that time. And that was solid. Sometimes, Jim, when it's, believe it or not, the harder they hit you, and if it's solid, it doesn't hurt. It's those run-bys by the speed when they nick you, so that those hurt. You understand?
I think so. I don't want to find out, but
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I don't want to be hit anymore either, that's for sure.
You've had enough of that. 3rd and 5. Brady in the pocket, now looking around, dancing around. At the time, and the pass going to be short of a first, even if it was a catch. It's incomplete on the ground for Vereen.
Tremendous protection. I mean, tremendous. Tom Brady cannot find anywhere to throw it. But I tell you, here's what I like. And I know you're at home, you're going to go, oh, look what he does. But he's conscious that the time is running out. He keeps his hands on the football, and then he makes the throw. That's one of the reasons why Tom Brady fumbles the ball so few times. Keeps his hands on it.
Houston blocked a couple of punts this year, but no pressure this time on Mesco. And that's Keith Martin. And unable to catch it, but he was heading out of bounds anyway. So Mesco does it well. He angles it for 51 yards. And Houston will start at the 10-yard line. Everyone chasing that trophy, the Lombardi Trophy, given away. Will be earned, actually, February 3rd in New Orleans. And a whistle first. Oh, and Houston's backing up 5.
False start. Offense, number 88. 5-yard penalty. Remains 1st down.
Gary Kubiak saying this week, our team doesn't panic, understands an NFL season has highs and lows just like a game does. And he told us last night, we're going to cut it loose.
Well, I think they're trying to, Jim. I really do. On the offensive side, I'll tell you what, they were going to throw the play-action pass, and the New England Patriots were blitzing that time, expecting a play-action pass.
So from the 5, 1st and 15, and here comes the blitz. Pass away to Foster. Foster down the sideline. Gregory waiting on him. And he runs right past him before it's Ninkovich.
What did Arian Foster say last night? He was like insulted. They don't even pay attention to me. Here comes the blitz. Mayo comes in. Nobody peels off to get Arian Foster. Good read by Matt Schaub. He knew it. If they blitz, I got to throw the hot to Arian Foster, and look at that space.
Well, he was talking about really here in the passing game.
That's right.
There were opportunities he felt that could be made, and we've seen it today. That's Schaub's longest pass play of the day. 28 yards. Inside give. And Foster has Vince Wilfork on his back after a gain of 3. Saturday, college basketball action early. Some will see Kansas down in Austin taking on Texas, or West Virginia at Purdue, plus late Oregon and UCLA.
And what it does, what that pass play did for the Texans, it's now going to change field position. So even if you don't score, you have a chance to back up the New England Patriots offense.
They've got Posey in the game, wide right, 2nd and 7. Chop in trouble. Abel, he lost the football and then falls on it. Well, he somehow was able to squirm out of pressure, but then just suddenly the ball came out.
Yeah, good job. Gets away from Vince Wilfork. Did he hit it with his leg and kicked it out of his hand? No, he just loses it. It's a nice warm day up here. These quarterbacks now get to rub these footballs up and get them any way they want them. So there's no reason. Oh, there you go. It did hit his leg. First off, should have been carrying it with 2 hands and it wouldn't have hit his leg and come out.
Well, it's a loss of 10. That goes in the books as New England's first sack of the day. 3rd and 16. And down the field at midfield, the catch, Andre Johnson.
What a throw. What a throw, determination, and this is the best throw of the day for Matt Schaub. He reads it, and a nice job by Andre Johnson, widening Kyle Arrington just enough. And look at the anticipation to your right outside. Well, and the big thing is he threw it hard and low so Johnson could protect himself.
And Foster starting to glide outside. Dennard and then Gregory push him out of bounds, but it's a good gain on 1st down. Picks up 7.
You know, Andre Johnson, he knows it. That's how you do it. Catch it to your body, slide down, and hold on to that football. And last week, I thought Matt Schaub, Jim, when he played, there was a determination to him. You know, he threw an interception for a touchdown, and I thought he was aggressive throwing the ball. In other words, he wasn't waiting for these big open windows. He was throwing into a lot of tight spots and played inspired football.
And he loves talking about getting inspired, playing on the road. He's talked to us about that a few times this year. Loves the challenge as he whips it over to Casey, and that's good for a 1st down. So again, this drive started all the way back at the 10-yard line and now inside the New England 40.
Tells you something about Matt Schaub that he goes, I like it. The hostile atmosphere when the people yell at me and all that. And he likes the competition. And there's no doubt as his career has gone on and this team, he has gotten tougher and more competitive and leads the players.
And that is a handoff on 1st down to Foster for 2 yards. Really the coming out party, if you will, for Matt Schaub. Came in a game down when he was at Atlanta, backing up Michael Vick against New England.
That's right.
All the way back in 2005. We didn't realize it, but at the last minute, he was the starter and led Atlanta to a victory over Belichick, Brady, and the Patriots. Threw for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That got him the big contract to come to Houston.
Exactly right. That game, I believe, is the one that propelled him to be traded for and become the Houston Texans starting quarterback.
2nd and 8. And Foster says, get off of me, Aqib. And Talib's coming back.
Good recovery that time by Aqib Talib. Downfield, gets up and makes the tackle, but it's getting a little chippy. Like that, a lot of fighting inside. The big guys, we're seeing a lot of pushing and shoving. Just be careful and don't get a silly penalty.
Foster out, Casey flanking Schaub on 3rd and 7. Schaub down the middle, picked off. Intercepted by Ninkovich. And Ninkovich returns it to the 36. Absolutely unheralded, but always making big plays. Rob Ninkovich.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Get to a better state with a discount double check. And by Old Spice Champion, the scent that lets you succeed in ways you never smelled possible.
We're coming back right out of the first turnover of the day. Schaub intercepted by Ninkovich. Ridley, he's got that hopscotch move, and he's got 10 yards.
Jim, let's look at this interception. Watch Rob Ninkovich comes here, then drops back into coverage. I don't think it fools Matt Schaub. What happens is he just misjudges the play by the linebacker. He saw him, but sometimes you think somebody's open, and they're not.
About a foot short of the first. 2nd and 1.
All right, out there, out there.
He's going to throw for it, and he's got it. With Hernandez thrown down at the 40.
Well, how'd that football get through the defensive hands of the Houston Texans this time? They had 2 players ready to knock it down. Right side, well, it's Baird Rude and J.J. Watt. They both miss it. Hernandez outside against Manning. Hernandez having a good day.
Score that.
On the right, Rita.
Brady
Outside.
with his 20th completion, 13th straight playoff game with at least 20, which is an all-time record. And he's got now reception, completion number 21. Lloyd, they rule him down. Brandon Lloyd with the catch. Was he down? Gain of 7. They whistled it down, so it won't matter.
Yeah,
but
he's catching the football, yes. He falls on top of him, so he's got to be down.
Jonathan Joseph and Brandon Lloyd, for some reason, thought there had not been contact. But
I'm through.
He was excited he finally got the ball.
yeah, from the 33, 2nd and 3. And free traffic. Ridley's got another first. Gain of 5.
Well, they're just pushing them now forward in this New England offensive line. You know, we don't talk about them enough. And Logan Mankins and Ryan Wendell, the center. Dan Connolly, the right guard, plays fullback, does a lot of things.
All right, quickly to the line, trying again. Catch Houston off guard. Ridley inside the 10 and down to the 5. What a burst. They get these big plays. Houston's defense, look at the confusion.
Look at them, still moving around, and Tom Brady always goes on to quick count. When they're in a hurry up, there's 2 things. Hurry up with the play, hurry up with the snap count.
And the Houston defense might want to get set here. 1st and goal, 23-yard run by Ridley. Lloyd makes the move, and he's in for the touchdown.
So many options, that's what it is. The talent, but the scheme. The different little things that gives them, they give themselves so many free plays. The hurry up, how about this? It's a run play, the corner's way off, tackle Brandon Lloyd one-on-one out there in the open field.
Jonathan Joseph was trying to lock down that side, but there was, as you said, pretty big separation. Just took one little wiggle, and Lloyd was in from 5 yards out for the touchdown. Touchdown off the takeaway after the Nikovic interception.
Every week they say, we're ready for the hurry-up offense. When we do a Patriots game, nobody has shown us yet.
Nikovic gets the football back to the Patriots, and Lloyd and Brady hook up for the score. Brady's 40th career playoff touchdown pass. 3rd all time. And again, in pursuit of his 17th postseason victory, which would move him ahead into first alone past Montana for the most playoff victories. If the Patriots go ahead and finish this one off. 14 unanswered in this quarter for New England. And Manning not going to get the big run back this time, as Marquise Cole and Slater were down there. Welcome Beyonce to the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show on CBS. Hey, submit your photo at cbssports.com/Pepsi for a chance to be seen by millions. There's a chance for you to send in a new photo right there.
Boy, you're on this photo. I really must have really looked bad. It's okay. I've been called a lot of things, so. Houston, I guess it goes without saying, it's time now. They got to be a little quicker, more aggressive in their thinking.
That's Garrett Graham snagging it, gain of 7.
You know, that interception, just going back to that, Jim, I do think he saw Nikovic. He just misjudged his talent or where he threw the football. I don't think he was fooled. Sometimes you throw it and you go, wow, I can't believe the guy caught it.
To Foster. And that is Mayo. Those two, again, met down in Knoxville, and they used to work out late at night together. There they were, pumping iron, dreaming about one day playing in the NFL, and now they meet in the postseason.
Yeah, that's right. Arian Foster said he just taught me a lot of things. Gerard Mayo, and what he was teaching him did help him get to the NFL.
Third and a long yard. Foster trying to fight for it. Let's see where they spot this one. You know, both side judges coming in and having it short of that line, which is unofficial. Again, Mayo was in on the play. That's going to close out the quarter.
Timeout for measure.
And they are going to measure.
Well, Jim, if they're going to wait till the next quarter to see what they do, I think they'll go for it. And I think there's no doubt, score 31-13. You got to stay aggressive, and you have to go for it here on this play.
Belichick hawking that spot on the field. Again, it's between the 23 and the 24-yard line. They are short. They're short by a foot. So a big decision to open up the fourth quarter. Big third, though, for the Patriots with the 2 touchdowns. 31-13. Back after this message and a word from your local station. We open the fourth with 4th and 1. Gets a hold of it. Foster! It looks like he would make it, and he falls for the first down. Wow, that was Talib who came up and tried to chop him down, and I think the fall forward by Foster, who was having a hard time handling the pitch, I think the last effort got the first down.
Oh, they're outside. Andre Johnson does not get a good block. I'm just wondering if Bill Belichick might challenge the spot of this football.
Yeah, they moved the chains, and no challenge flag submitted.
There it comes.
And there it is. It's out before. Wow, they did not get the snap away in time, which, of course, would have put that play in the books. Yeah, the question is, did Foster have like an elbow or something that was down, perhaps, before he was able to like tumble over for the first down?
You're right.
New England is challenging the ruling on the field as related to progress and a first down.
Awfully close. We'll be right back. How do you think this one's going to be ruled?
I think it's going to be the call on the field is going to stand. Unbelievable job by Arian Foster on the back of the defender and keeps his arm off the ground until there. So you look at the football, and it's got to be, Jim, they're not going to go out there and move the ball 1 inch if they think it is.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field will stand. It will be first down.
You know, Bill Belichick gets a good challenge.
Loses a timeout.
But when you watch that play in slow motion replay, Arian Foster, I thought, made a bad decision on the cut, but he showed great talent getting the first down.
On first down, Shaw trying to get away from the heat. And he picks up a yard, able to avoid the sack.
You're looking at the guys inside. They just pushed the pocket, and I don't know why he took off up the middle. The protection was good, but maybe he felt it, thought he felt it, and that made him move up. And once you kind of move up in the pocket so far, you might as well run. We're going to get off and sack you anyway.
2nd and 9. Going against his body in the direction of Foster. Nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Break down the road to Super Bowl 47 on NFL Monday QB. That's tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
You know, Jim, just look, as you look at the QB comparisons, think of the last plays or the few plays we've watched Matt Schaub run. There's slow development it takes him a while to find the guy. Then you watch the Patriots. It's so many plays that are so quick. What a difference in philosophies.
Need to get to the 34 for the first down. Third down play. Pocket sealed. Pass caught by Walter, who reaches out for it. Lost the ball, but the spot's going to be good enough, I believe, for the first. Kevin Walter.
Another tight throw. Kevin Walter in the slot. Just comes across the field, and Dennard we'll see where they
Ball
mark
forward
it.
and out of bounds, and by rule, the ball being brought back to the spot of the fumble, which will be short of a first down, fourth down.
Well, they take it all the way back to the 33, so now Houston faces another fourth down.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. No doubt they're going to go for it again here, Jim.
That might be one that Kubiak want to challenge, because the ball, it did tumble forward when it left his hand, but he might have been very close to the first down yardage. They said all the way back at the 33.
I wouldn't. I think the challenge, the timeout's more valuable right now.
Got to have it here if you're Houston. Schaub, pass over the head of Posey, and New England takes over. That's why perhaps you challenge it, because now it's back to New England at the 33-yard line.
Well, there's pressure once again. It's fourth down and short, and they're going deep down the field. But stepping up causes the pressure. That's why Dante Hightower gets the big hit. DeVere Posey going across, that's who he was throwing it to. Andre Johnson was going deep and upset that the football was not thrown his way.
And again, where did the ball come out of Walter's hands? At what point is he down? Is he down there? That's
there.
why
Yeah.
I think he could have challenged it and maybe won it. They elect not to, and then they go for the deep ball or down the middle. And here's Brady airing it out. Pass! Vereen has his third touchdown of the game. And Belichick just gives it a little passing glance as his team puts up 6 more.
What a throw. They're looking for chances to throw the football down the field. That's what this offense, if it lacks anything, it's maybe that. How about that catch down the field by Shane Vereen? Feet are in bounds. Oh, a little double move. He gets the matchup he wants.
They've been seeing that all day, those matchups outside on a linebacker.
And they've been going after too, Jim.
Every time. And it was Rude trying to defend, and Vereen having a monster afternoon.
Well, he got a chance, maybe because Danny Woodhead was injured early in the game.
And for Houston, that is the backbreaker. Brady's third touchdown pass. How about Belichick's reaction? Just gave it a casual, oh, okay, we're in. Then he went back to coaching.
He's used to it.
All right, guys.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Acura. Acura. Advance. AT&T. Rethink possible. And by the Bud Light Sports Fan app. Download the app today.
And that's a look from our nationwide insurance Skycam. When Vereen came into this game at the beginning stages, you said, watch out, he's a threat in the passing game. He has 5 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdown catches, 1 touchdown on the ground.
His problem is they got about 7 other threats, so he's way down that list.
Manning able to get past the wave, and once again, Danielle Manning breaking off a big run back. It was Kyle Arrington who ends it. Daniel Manning saying, why wasn't I returning all season long during the regular season?
Well, because he's a valuable safety, that's why. But there's the lane. Somebody gets out of their lane, and look at Daniel Manning.
Gostowski.
Well, there's a penalty trying to trip him.
Well, you're right. Last year he got injured week 7. Manning broken leg, and that's when, of course, they had to go to some other options. And he had all those kick returns for touchdowns back in college at Abilene Christian.
That New England offense, they look for matchups. You had Barrett Rude outside against Vereen. Tom Brady went Barrett Rude is a middle linebacker. So that's what the Patriots offense has done for years. They just look for where they got the edge, and that's where they attack.
Foster with 7 more. He's got 83 yards rushing on the game. Posey unable to make that grab.
Well, Jim, let's just look at top of the screen. Tom Brady dropping back on the left, a little double move, and it's, hey, Rude is not fooled, but he just can't keep up with the speedy wide receiver on the outside. And Tom Brady's perfect throw helped out quite a bit, too.
And Vereen joins Curtis Martin and Rob Gronkowski with Patriot players with 3 touchdowns in a playoff game. 3rd and 3. And Foster near the first down. Going to mark it short, I believe.
That's going to be, yep, they did mark it short. I wasn't sure, Boy, when I tell you, when Arian Foster, when they hit him, he's going down. Can't even get that extra 6 inches.
4th and a foot. Got it. And Spikes tackles him after the gain of 2 inside 12 minutes.
Well, the Texans down 25 points, trying to be a little under control here, just so it doesn't, they give themselves a little bit of a chance, but no doubt about it, need to pick the pace up, and you need to take some chances throwing it down the field.
From the 25 of New England, there's a throw down the field, and Posey makes the catch, but might have had the body out of bounds. Yes, indeed.
I've been waiting. We saw one deep crosser DeVere Posey caught today, Jim, but I've been waiting for him many times because when you watch him, I watched him warm up. Boy, that's close.
It's a good pass.
Perfect pass, but he has the speed.
Oh, hold on a minute.
And that left foot.
You might want to
hit out of bounds. Gary Kubiak's reaching for his red flag.
He should. Look at this. When does he have control? Right there? He's got the flag.
Yeah, he's got to throw it.
There you go.
Couldn't pull the trigger there. Let it go.
It got stuck in the hand.
He said they were going to play fast and loose. So, but yeah, it's a good challenge. You're right, Jim. Why? Hey, they need the points.
So,
Houston is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
At what point did Posey have control of the football?
It's close.
And with our CBS Hyper Zoom, here's an up-close look. At this point, you feel like it's
touchdown
in the possession of Posey.
Yes. He has possession.
After reviewing the play, the Houston receiver was able to control the football on his chest with the hand. Therefore, it is a touchdown.
DeVere Posey
charged with the timeout.
with his first NFL touchdown, and it comes in the postseason from 25 yards out.
Well, it's a beautiful throw and a good job by Posey staying with it, and he gathered it in really with one hand and just had possession just before he went out of bounds. You kick the extra point here too, Jim. You're down 25 no matter what you do. That's 4 scores, so you go for the 1.
And tacks on one more. Actually, Posey had recovered a blocked punt for a touchdown earlier this year, but he got a touchdown catch for the first time. His shop has his first touchdown throw in the postseason.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pepsi. Help welcome Beyonce to the Pepsi Super Bowl 47 halftime show. Details at Pepsi.com. And by Subway Restaurants. The Chipotle Chicken and Cheese is the featured $5 footlong of January.
All right. Onside kick here, Phil.
You know, Jim, I kick it off for sure because if you onside, give your defense one more chance to get a 3 and out, because if you onside kick it and don't get it, it lessens your chances of this comeback big time.
Oh, Graham knocks it over that line. of Patriots, and it bounds into the end zone.
Well, I love the idea. If that football would have went down there, maybe stopped, they could have got the Patriots backed up inside the 10-yard line.
Let's see, you're on CBS Sports Network tomorrow night at 6:30. Then you got David Letterman tomorrow night. Then Wednesday night, Showtime, the king of all media. Phil Simms, James Brown, and Chris Collinsworth will be on Inside the NFL Wednesday night with all of their analysis of what has been a very exciting, of course, that epic, this divisional weekend, that epic Denver-Baltimore game yesterday.
Is it hard to get tired of yourself?
No, all I do, most of the day, I'm promoting these shows you're on. Okay. Are you on any of the sitcoms or anything this week?
No.
1st and 10. And Brady throwing, and he had bodies around him, and that was James defending. It was Antonio Smith who knocked Brady down again.
Yeah, Antonio Smith, along with J.J. Watt, has really been the difference here in this defensive line when they play well. He's good against the run, gets the hit, makes the decision go quicker. That's how you get incomplete passes, and it goes without saying. They need a 3 and out to give their offense a chance to get back on the field and keep their rhythm.
4 down.
It's a blitz.
Hey, bring up, go, Karen. 380. Hey, gap right.
Who's the mic?
Alpha, go!
You can hear everything that's out.
2nd and 10. Lloyd stuck right away. Jonathan Joseph, and now that Houston defense. You said you got to give them one more chance to make it a short series. Well, here comes the play to do just that.
Yeah, you know what happens, Jim? When you back a team up and they start from the 20, the play selection is going to be different than it would be if you're all the way on the other side of the 50-yard line. You can be free and carefree when you're going in to score, but here you got to think about it. Makes it a little harder sometimes to make that call.
Need to get to the 30 for the first.
Short. Pop.
Wide open, Hernandez. There is a flag in the secondary as Hernandez advances the football all the way out to the 47.
Yeah, it's got to be offense against Aaron Hernandez.
Pass interference, offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 3rd down.
But you got away with one earlier in the game, 81 against Daniel Manning. Double arm extension, and down goes Manning. And look at that, he just extends both arms, so that's going to be an easy call.
And again, Gronkowski injured in the first quarter, re-injuring that forearm he fractured back against Indianapolis in November and has not returned.
Read it.
No, 29.
Roger.
3rd and 15. Patriots no further update on his condition.
Read it.
Alpha, go!
In on Brady. Gets away. Flings it down the field and over the head of Lloyd. So Houston will get the football back rather quickly as Merciless, the rookie first rounder out of Illinois, was in on Brady that time.
Yeah, they got the 3 and out they want. Merciless, why I like him in the game, he just plays with energy. He's not like a great run stopper, but he's fast. And he brings speed to the defense, and that's what you need sometimes when you're trying to get to the quarterback.
That possession took about a minute and a half. How about yesterday in that Denver-Baltimore game? Trendon Holiday, who started the year with the Texans, and those 2 returns for touchdowns, plus Jacoby Jones with the Texans last year with that big catch to tie it, send it to overtime. It's Mesco now. As it bounding. What a bounce it is. That's a 25-yard rollout for Mesco. .64-yard punt. And the Ravens, for the 3rd time in 5 years, are playing in the AFC Championship game. That was an incredible performance last night from Kaepernick. And then today, the Falcons looked like it might be a rout. Gave up the lead in the last minute, then somehow got back for a winning field goal to beat Seattle. San Francisco and Atlanta next Sunday, and Baltimore will be taking on the winner of this one. Andre Johnson, and that's Spikes who makes it a very short game. Give him 3.
Well, you can take a couple of those short throws, but you got to maybe ball fake, look for ways to throw the football down the field.
Well, Spikes comes onto the field at the last moment for New England and then makes the hit. I mean, he jogged onto the field late, and then he sticks Daniels about a yard shy of the first.
Well, they were confused at what personnel was in the game, but a pretty good recovery, isn't it? This defense now for the Patriots, it reminds me so much of the defense that we saw when they had Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour, Grable on one outside, McGinnis. It's big. They're playing a lot of man coverage, and it's been working so far.
3rd and 1. On first down, even with that big lick and a flag. Walker holds on. Gregory will be penalized 15. Well, it reminds you of that defense. You named all of those luminaries. Those were Super Bowl winning years.
They've been doing this defense quite a bit today where the safeties are watching across the field and trying to drive on somebody coming their way.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, hit to the head of a defenseless player. 15-yard.
6 on the pass play, 15 more on the penalty.
That's a good call. Goes high, helmet's high, helmet to helmet. The pass receiver definitely did not have time to protect himself.
And Houston back over to the New England side of the field. Foster trying to get away from Gregory, who grabs him by the ankles. Gain of 9.
Well, Matt Schaub doing a good job. He's looking for the home run throw, but if you're a defensive back, I know I sit at home to come on, throw it down the field. Well, what do you think the defensive guys are saying? And they're taught, don't give up the big throw in a situation like this. The clock is your friend.
2nd and 1, flips it at the last moment. And Mayo trying to knock that ball out. Arian Foster was the target.
Well, the clock is still running.
It was a catch.
It was a catch.
Catch and a loss of 1.
My fault. I thought I saw the football come hit the ground. Slow. It is slow. You got to speed it up.
3rd and 2. Daniels racing away from Gregory. Then McCourty is able to finally end it at the 16-yard line and a gain of 24.
Owen Daniels just faster than everybody thinks, and that's how he gets across the field. That time is wide open against Gregory, the safety.
And this is the case where you always talk about New England races to the line and catches the defense off a big play. Out of sorts, not lined up. Houston, they get there quickly this time. They go back to Daniels. And Daniels with Spikes trying to free that football. Tackles him at the 4, gain of 12.
Just be real quick. New England's ahead of the curve, Jim, but I think we'll see more teams, or a lot of teams next year, try to copy what the Patriots did this year on the offensive side.
1st and goal. Posey right, Johnson left. Foster up the middle, and Foster to the 1.
Got to line up, run the next play as fast as possible. You're still down 3 scores.
Precious seconds for a team down 18. Gonna throw for a jump pass over the head of Daniels. Stops the clock with 6:13 remaining.
I think you throw it in this situation. You're down here at the 2-yard line because I don't think you can afford to run it if you do and get tackled just to waste or the loss of time. So many things you can do. Play action passes, formation that causes the defense trouble, or move the quarterback.
Empty backfield. New England may have jumped. Schaub takes off. Schaub is brought down by McCourty, but New England may have jumped.
It's a good call. Gary Kubiak, thinking back to the days when he was in Denver, the backup quarterback to who? John Elway.
Defense number 94 in the neutral zone at the snap. This penalty be assessed half the distance to the goal. Repeat, third down.
Posey still down in the end zone for Houston. He has not gotten up. He's got two Texans from the medical staff around him.
Yeah, just to tell you, the quarterback draw, Jim, it was started. I don't remember people running it until John Elway ran it so many times with the Broncos with Dan Reeves as the head coach. Now it's a part of every team's offense.
With Posey down, we'll be right back. And Posey has to be carted off with the Texans. And I might add that even though the Patriots have not given us any official update on Gronkowski, there are reports out there that the injury for Gronkowski, re-injuring that already surgically repaired left forearm, that he may be facing another surgery. That's being reported widely. All right, Houston's going to have a 3rd and goal with 6:07 to play. They bring in Lestar Jean in place of Posey. Walters out there. Of course, Andre Johnson as well. Foster wide to the right.
Could be a quarterback sneak.
Good pass. Johnson snags it. Andre Johnson is stacked up by Mayo, McCourty, and Dennard for no gain.
Yeah, it was a good job. We've seen this all day today from the defense. They're throwing these wide receiver screens. And the Patriots, they practice against this every single day. Who throws more of them than Tom Brady? The quarterback sneak was there, Jim. That's why I said it. They had him outnumbered. They could have double-teamed and walked into the end zone.
It's going to go for it here, 4th and goal. Even though they need 3 scores. They're going to go ahead this deep. 4th time in the quarter they've gone for it on 4th down. Shots pass, caught for the touchdown by Foster.
This is where you go for 2 points. You're down. Let's see, am I right?
No, you don't need to.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Even though they're showing signs of going for 2 here.
Well, it's the same thing. You want to go for the 2. I would go ahead and kick the extra point and wait till the next time if I scored a touchdown to go for 2.
I agree.
Now, because if you don't make it, you need 2 touchdowns.
Schaub Lights, number 88. You see him on the left side. Garrett Graham down in this area. Their backup tight end. Going for 2. Schaub looking. Toss. What a catch. Got it. Andre Johnson pulls it down. Boxing out Aqib Talib.
How about that? What a job. First off, the touchdown throw. Good job this time by Matt Schaub being patient and waiting for that little lane inside to throw it to Arian Foster. Drops down sidearm.
Oh, he zipped it right in there on Foster.
Yeah, the 2-point conversion, Jim. What a job by Andre Johnson, just shielding off Aqib Talib and making the catch. Boy, it looks like something we've seen Anquan Bolden of the Ravens do a few times the last couple weeks. Just, it's such a part of the NFL and the offenses now. Wide receivers that just go up.
Yeah, Talib had with it of the defender and held on to it.
And there's no doubt, of course, now they have to try the onside kick. Joe Marciano's the special teams coach, going over the last minute details with the kickoff unit, which onside kick they're going to try.
And Houston has all 3 timeouts and setting up now here for the Got to think, is that onside kick? You're foreshadowing. 0 for 2 this year are the Texans. Graham is 1 out of 6 in his career onside kick recoveries. This could make things very interesting right here. Scoots it across, ball's out. Ball is free, and it was available, and then Ninkovic grabbed hold of it. He was a tight end at Purdue for a while, Ninkovic. Now, of course, a linebacker already with a pick in this game, and he snags it.
They had what they wanted. The football, it gets the in-between hop. Hey, it's hard for baseball players. Here it is, the in-between hop.
Couldn't have had a better play on it, really, than the kick.
Couldn't see who it was. Was it?
Came off a Chung.
Patrick Chung, 25. I could see a 5 there. So they had what they wanted, not able to come up with it.
It looked like the Texans, when they looked up, might have been able to do something with it. Ridley driving the legs down to the 41.
I think you wait for this play to see what the New England offense does, and you decide if you can keep it third and where there's a third 3 or 4, you use that first time out to keep the Patriots from running 45 seconds off after every play.
2nd and 4 for New England.
We got 54's the mic.
Hey, you guys do this?
Whiskey. Wait, 20. Wait.
And Ridley able to shoulder that first hit. Look at Ridley drive that pile. Where was the whistle, though? As Brady tries to move into first alone on the postseason win list by starting quarterbacks. Texans have just called a timeout. They spot the football here. And about the 39. It'll be 3rd and 2 coming up.
Now this is where the defense, you sell out and play, you guess. Always in situations on the goal line or big situations like this, you almost have to guess run, try to stop it, and see if you can get the Patriots to punt the football.
Before Robert Kraft owned this franchise, New England had hosted only one playoff game ever, and it was against the Houston Oilers on New Year's Eve, 1978. The Oilers, Bum Phillips, Wade Phillips, defensive line coach, Earl Campbell, Dan Pastorini, that crew came up here and won that game. And that was the only time they ever hosted a home game. New England until the Kraft family took over. Here's a big 3rd and 2. Batted down. But a flag is down as Kareem Jackson was tangled up with Wes Welker. But what about the deflection? Oh, they call it a hold. A hold against Kareem Jackson.
Defense number 25. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
A big difference. If it had just been pass interference, it would have been.
They would have picked up the flag.
They would have picked the flag up. Does get his hands on the jersey. Regardless of it's a playoff game. You got to call what you see. They saw the hold and they threw the flag.
And Wade Phillips cannot disagree more.
Alabama. 380. Great hot.
Ridley behind shoulder. Trying to stay in bounds, and he does. Coming up, the Subway postgame show. JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, Coach Coward. Recap of this game and all the latest playoff news and information coming up on the Subway postgame show. Houston calls another timeout.
Well, you know, Jim, I think what we saw here, it was a better showing by the Houston Texans today than what we saw 5 weeks ago. But the New England Patriots, still, they're absolutely a notch above the Texans. You learn from it. How do you change your team? You got to change. I think you almost have to change your philosophy a little bit. And, of course, you always want to change your players to get better physically.
Matt Schaub, by the way, over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Bob McNair, I know, wants to pass along his best to the Texans' #1 fan, former President George H.W. Bush, watching down at Methodist Hospital in Houston and getting better every day.
Well, we know he's watching, big football fan. So I'm glad to hear he is getting better.
Yep. He's getting better, and hopefully he'll be going home real soon. 2nd down and 4. And Ridley for a yard. He's got 64 yards in this half. And the Texans with 1 timeout now burn their last.
I think one thing we talked about that's going to bring up right now is the fact that when the Patriots, the hurry-up offense, when they make a big play, how they get so many free plays off of the one afterwards. And we know it's coming. You and I have done so many games, and we constantly talk to the opposing teams. Hey, how about the hurry-up offense? Are you ready? Oh, we got it down. We've been working on it since training camp. But we come to the games, and nobody's ever ready for the special situations. You think how hard it is in this league anyway. I would say the Patriots today, just throwing a number out there, I'm going to say 7 free plays in runs and quick screens because of the pace of how they play.
Quite a combo today. Ridley and Vereen. Again, Woodhead also injured early in this game with a thumb injury and never returned. But did Vereen, he was next up, and man, did he step up. And Ridley has also produced in a big way this second half. 3rd and 2. Is complete. Brandon Lloyd. He's liking this postseason action. First time he's ever experienced it in his 10th year in the league. First playoff game. Goes for 8 and a first.
Well, they're so used to throwing these passes underneath in tight coverage. It's just routine for the Patriots, no matter who the catcher of the football is. Brandon Lloyd, so excited to come up here. And he says it's a perfect fit for me, this Patriots offense. Precision routes, and they test you mentally too, all the different things they do. He loves it.
Ridley going to be caught behind the line. Watt able to finish it off. That play really broken up first though by Merciless.
Jim, I think it's safe to say I think the New England is going to hang on here. It's not completely over, but we'll see a rematch of what we saw last year here.
That will be some game if they finish off the last 3 minutes. Ravens and Patriots, remember last year, there was a chance to win it at the end, a drop pass in the end zone, and then, of course, the chance to tie it and the missed field goal wide left by Baltimore.
Well, this is how you finish a game. You talk about playoffs or regular season. When the other team knows you're going to run it and you still do it, it tells you you're pretty good.
2nd and 12. I know one thing, John Harbaugh and that Ravens bunch relishing the chance to come back up here and get another shot at the Patriots. And now New England will be able to run it down to the 2-minute warning. And we'll remind you the Subway postgame show is coming up with JP Dan Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cower. And that's all coming up, the Subway postgame show. So 3rd and 10. Will be coming up right out of the 2-minute warning with the Patriots up 38-20 game. I'm not saying this after the fact, but I've always loved this weekend. This is the best. The divisional weekend, you got the 4 games. It was the highest scoring divisional weekend in NFL history. Now 3rd and 11. And a knee here to burn off another 40 seconds on the clock.
That's right. And the fact, you know, that the Houston Texans are out of timeouts. That's the reason why you'd want to run the football in a situation right here, right now, like the New England Patriots are in.
Foster grabs hold of the helmet, expecting to see some action with a minute to go.
Well, they kicked the field goal, Jim, puts them up 13 the way Danielle Manning's been returning kicks.
I'm not sure I'd kick it to him if I was New England.
I think I wouldn't either.
So timeout New England with 1:18 to play. And out comes Gostowski. And out trotting as well, Danny Aiken, the long snapper, second-year man out of Virginia. Going to be about 38 yards.
Well, this is nothing like the pressure kicks we have seen in the last games out in Denver, down in Atlanta this week.
Oh, yeah. Gostkowski's kick. It's good. New England, third time ever hosting Houston here at Gillette, 2006, December 2012, and now today, all three times, they reached the 40-point mark.
You know, that graphic you showed, it said all the points have scored, new record in this weekend in the NFL. It's just, that's the way it is now. There's just so many, the rules we know, the talent of the players, and just the ways, so many different ways offenses are coming up on how to move the football and how to score.
It's been great to have a lot of the CBS team here, including our chairman, executive producers, John McManus, our chairman and co-executive producers, as well as Harold Bryant here on site today, our coordinating producer of the NFL on CBS, game producer Lance Barrow, and this game directed by Mike Arnold, senior producer of CBS Sports and honchoing the NFL today, Eric Mann, director Bob Mattina, senior coordinating producer CBS Sports Steve Karasik, videotape producers Ken Mack and Craig Silver, and sideline producer Brian Kozowski, creative director CBS Sports Peter Radovich Jr., and of course Corey Fishman and Andy Friedman, our associate directors of our CBS game crew here that's heading to the Super Bowl. Eric Spitzer, Drew Simon, our broadcast associates, technical manager Pete Calander, Jonas Einstein, our technical director, audio supervisor Ed Soltis, Tommy Spencer up here is our chief editorial consultant, Ethan Cooperson, Tom Borstein keeping hold of all the stats, stage manager Jimmy Hatter, and of course Kevin McHale up here with his invaluable work, taking control of the booth. There's a little pooch kick. Casey to the 29.
Well, we saw some unbelievable finishes, Jim, so I'm not going to say, oh, this is a guaranteed win for the Patriots. After what Joe Flacco did in that game yesterday.
Yep. On the road.
On the road.
That comeback by Seattle. But here, of course, a minute to go, down 2 touchdowns, and a wobbler as he's hit. And with no timeouts, Ninkovic again putting on the pressure. I never even thought after we were here for week 17, Ninkovic would be ready for the playoffs. He suffered a hip injury against Miami in the last regular season game, but here he is, recovers an onside kick, makes an interception.
Yeah. Well, we laugh. We talk about Rob Ninkovic more than anybody.
We do.
And you've asked about 20 people. Are you sure he's going to play? I mean, so yeah, it is unbelievable. He recovered, and how well he has played today's game.
2nd and 10, and that's to Johnson. Out to the 44.
Derek Newton, the right tackle, number 75, lost his shoe on the first play, so that was one of the reasons why Ninkovic got a hit on that shot.
Open to Casey. And Arrington throws him down at the 41 with 30 seconds.
Well, you know what you do? Maybe get one more completion. If you can get out of bounds, spike the ball, whatever, and try a long field goal to give yourself a chance maybe to throw one in the end zone if you can recover an onside kick.
I don't think that'd do you much good. 13.
Oh, that's right. What am I thinking of? Sorry.
So completion there goes to Gene.
Thinking of the 10 points.
And they call that an incompletion.
Well, with 17 seconds, I would definitely throw the Hail Mary here to see if I could get it in the end zone.
All this underneath stuff with no timeouts, not going to do you much good. So both teams over 400 yards on the day, both quarterbacks over 330. Feistier effort than the first go-around for Houston, but it's still not enough to overcome the Patriot Express. And that might end it. Foxborough, Massachusetts. Next Sunday, rematch city. Ravens will be coming in to take on the Patriots for the AFC Championship. Not a whole lot of joy in Tom Brady's face. He's got a lot more he wants to accomplish. And his team's going to take on a team that certainly feels like it's overcome so much adversity this year. The Baltimore team that's on such a high and such a roll right now. It'll be a fascinating scene next Sunday night, the late game of the two. San Francisco and Atlanta, Baltimore and New England. Next weekend, the Harbaugh brothers will flip game times. This year, Jim will be up first and John will be in the second game. All kinds of stories abound as we are down to 4 teams now in this pursuit of the Lombardi Trophy.
I'm definitely looking forward to the rematch of the Ravens here next week against the New England Patriots.
Patriots win it. Coming up next, Subway post-game show tonight on CBS. 60 Minutes, followed by The Good Wife. And The Mentalist. For Phil Simpson, Steve Tasker, and all the crew, Jim Nance saying so long from Foxborough.